start, Mark?
Yeah, why not indeed? Hopefully everybody can see the PowerPoint. So, Karen, do you want to just make a start then?
Yes, so welcome everybody. This is very much today a motorcycle specific webinar. I'm just going to talk about a couple of sort of ground rules before we start. We're going to aim that the webinar is going to last about an hour. Of course, if there are some questions that come up, we were happy to carry on a little bit beyond that, but we're aiming for about an hour. If I can just reiterate the chat box, I will keep an eye on that, but if you can post your questions on the question box, we will then look at those later. We'll try and get around to answering all those questions, but those ones we can't, we'll come back to you on a FAQ or some further information or look it up for you. But I'm sorry if we can't answer all those questions today, but we will come back to you one way or another. So just a little bit on introductions. Some of you will know me. My name is Karen Bransgrove. I'm Chief Examiner for Diamond on the car side. I've been a trainer myself for 20 years and I've been a rider on and off myself for about 30 years. Much better in the car, I have to say, but I do try and dabble a little bit. I'm joined here today by Mark, who has many hats that he wears, but his role today is very much helping me with the DIA and Diamond, and he's Chief Motorcycle Examiner on the motorcycle side. I think it would be nice at this point, Mark, if you don't mind, just to give a little bit of a sort of idea of what you do and where you are. I know you're here today with DIA, but perhaps just let the team know what else you're involved in.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I run an ATB, probably one of the largest ATBs in the country, spread out over a number of sites. So I've got a lot of geographical knowledge of what happens out in the training industry. I've been in the training industry for quite a long time. I specialise in post-test training personally, as well as running the ATB. I'm a special advisor to the DIA on all motorcycle-related matters. I'm an examiner with the IAM as well as with Diamond. I'm also a national observer assessor for the IAM. I'm part of the ERS, the Enhanced Rider Schemes Stakeholders Forum, designing the route forward with that, as well as representing the DIA on a number of different motorcycle stakeholder group meetings, representing trainers and giving the trainers' point of view. So it's a little bit about me.
That's great, Mark. Thank you. And perhaps it's important to say that you know, I spend a lot of time on the help desk at the moment advising not only ADIs but also motorcycle trainers. I don't always know the answer to everything, so I sometimes have to go off and do some research, and sometimes I'll come to Mark and ask for his advice and help as well. So please feel free to pick up the phone and have a chat to us. We are talking to non-members as well as members at the moment, and I'll happily give you some guidance where I can and refer to Mark for his help and speciality in the motorcycle side as well. So, okay, we're now going to move on to the slides, and I'm going to hand you over to Mark in terms of the presentation itself. I'm going to be looking at your questions and asking some questions along the way as well. So I'll hand it over to you, Mark.
Okay, thank you. So three real areas of discussion that we want to talk about: delivery of CBTs, delivery of post-test training, and delivery of full test training. And we'll go through those topics and hopefully answer some of your questions that are coming in as best we possibly can to do that. One of the comments that's come in is that there's been very little guidance from the DVSA and local government. I kind of understand why that is. It doesn't help the industry at all, and I know there's a lot of people out on the forums that are very disenfranchised, and hopefully we can answer some of those questions, although not all of them fully, but I will give you some idea of where it's all going, hopefully. Motorcycling in this pandemic has really taken off. You've probably all been aware of the Unlock Your Freedom campaign by the motorcycle industry. For those of you who haven't, I don't know if this is going to work with sound, but hopefully I've got a little video here that will show you something that the industry is doing on our behalf.
Consider using all of the forms of transport before using public transport. Exposed, risky, confined, fear, or isolated, safer, freedom, growth.
Okay, I hope you heard. Did you manage to hear that, Karen, as well?
Yes, I did. It was a little bit ropey in parts, but it was fine. I heard it, and hopefully everybody else did as well.
So I hope most people in motorcycling are aware of the campaign to be able to promote motorcycling as a sustainable form of transport. So, Paul, I've just seen something coming in. Is my mic a little bit better now? I've just adjusted my position. So hopefully that will be. The really, really good news for motorcycling and us as trainers is that the campaign so far, from figures that were released this morning, has more than surpassed the expectations of the campaign. And there are more bike sales going on now, especially in the lower areas. And strangely enough, the 1000cc and above, which is an odd one, but certainly the smaller power two-wheelers, massive increase in sales over the last 4 to 5 weeks, which for us as a training industry and putting people through CBTs is actually really good news for us. I hope that you will continue on social media to publicise that campaign, and if anybody needs the links to where that is, we can do that. I will get on to the point of testing a little bit later on in this presentation. How can you make your ATB safe? Well, we need to follow the guidance published, and the MCIA and the DIA have done that in terms of giving you some best practices. This is not teaching you to suck eggs. You all know what we need to do in motorcycling to keep ourselves safe. You've all made decisions with a lack of guidance from the DVSA, and I'm not going to teach you to do, but there is advice for you out there should you wish to take it in the form of the MCIA guidelines. Within the DIA, we also have the key workers register that you can sign up for. If you haven't done so, it gives you good advice, but it's nothing more than just good advice. It's not us trying to teach you to suck eggs or to tell you how to do your jobs, because we're all there. You need to be making the decisions that are right for your ATB.
Mark, I'm just going to ask you a little question there, if I may, from a couple of people asking. I think the question that comes up quite a lot, really, on this one is it compulsory? Do we have to be following these guidelines? And perhaps which guidelines should we be following?
So everybody needs to be aware of the bigger picture. The way that the governments are rolling out the relaxation of the lockdown is one way. If you start to read the advice, then it's strongly recommended we do things like risk assessment. The risk assessment doesn't have to be pen and paper. You can carry out your own risk assessment. Is it right? Is your training area okay to keep 2 meters distance, etc., etc.? There are spreadsheets available that, if you want to, you can run through processes in terms of how you manage it. Just looking at the top page of this one, this is common sense. It's nothing more than common sense, and I think that's what risk assessment is all about. Common sense. If somebody is showing symptoms or has been in COVID, then don't train them. That's very common sense. You don't need physical pieces of paper to tell you what's right with it. In terms of, I've just seen somebody coming in with a question about, will the DVSA take any actions about ATVs issued to non-key workers? They want us to do key workers at the moment. However, the list of key workers is expanding greater and greater. I can't talk for the DVSA about if they will take any actions. However, I can't see how, with the information and advice that's out there, that necessarily anything will be done in terms of that. So, as I say, I can't say what the DVSA will do. I would be disappointed if anything was to happen in that way.
I think it's important to say as well here at this point that, in the same way, this is not for ADIs today, this is very much motorcycle, but it is important to say that government guidelines are for everybody, and you run your business, and remember, it can be quite overwhelming out there with how much information is there. So for some people, they very much need that guidance, even sometimes if it feels a little bit more basic, whereas others, will have much more experience and know how to implement into their business. So we're trying to sort of cater for everybody out there with lots of different questions. So if it's something that you're already very up on, then of course that's good. For those people that need a little bit more guidance, need a little bit more detail, that's what we're hoping to provide as well today.
Okay, there are a number of government guidances out there on working, safe working. Again, just read them and adjust them as you need to do for your own ATVs. There's no, I am not going to sit here and tell you to do this, that, and the other. You're all professionals. You all know exactly what it is that you need to be doing. We are, as an industry, assisting people to stay away from public transport by using powered two-wheelers. The motorcycle industry campaign is very much based around that. That's kind of what we need to do, and you're all your own business runners. You need to do what you need to do, but there is advice there should you need to do that.
Sure. I think one question that's coming up quite a lot on some of the questions at this point, Mark, and perhaps I can put this to you, is I know we may cover this again later, but in terms of testing and knowing how we can manage our businesses, this has been again tricky for ADIs, but how do people manage their business? What is happening with tests, and how can
can I cover that in a moment? Let's just get through this. So I've got a section on testing.
Lovely.
Let's cover that in a minute. One of the questions that has been asked, Karen, that you forwarded through from the help desk is, should you need to change, or should you change your terms and conditions? I would have suggested from a business point of view that as a minimum you need to be asking certain questions and making sure that your customers are relevant to what you're doing with your business. Again, this is up to you to do that. From my own point of view, I've asked people to bring a face covering and bring their own earplugs, so that we don't have to sanitize earplugs at the end of it. But that might not be appropriate within your business. You've got to make a decision with all of that. Hopefully some of that will help with what you want to do as well. So who should we be delivering training to? Well, the government advice is constantly changing. We know that. It was nobody in the first place, then it was key workers. It's your business who you should be training. From Monday the 15th, non-essential shops are opening. which in my personal view means that you have to make a non-essential trip to a non-essential shop. Does that mean that we can train anybody on CBTs? Well, that really is a decision that you need to make for yourselves as your business as to what the right thing is to do. There is very little advice coming out of government and the DVSA on it, and all I can suggest is that you just take your own decisions in terms of what the risk is to you and your business, as long as you can maintain that social distancing of 2 meters. And if you put all the other bits into place, then that all works well for you as well.
Just a question, Mark. Perhaps it's something that, again, you'll be can better advise people of than me in terms of classroom type scenarios and where that may come up. How can we best advise trainers on that?
Well, one of the things from personal experience is we're doing elements A, B, and D outside in small groups. That assists, and you know, generally speaking, we've had reasonably good weather over the last couple of 3 weeks for that to happen. I accept that some parts of the country have been a bit rainier than others. So if you can do that outside, then absolutely government advice is to do things outside where possible. There's no reason why A, B, and D can't be done outside. Obviously, C and E are already outside with social distancing there already. So you know that's probably a good. Every ATB is different. Every location is different. You can only make a decision based on what your feelings are in your own ATB. I think it is a good thing to be able to do, you know, from an industry point of view, and from a community point of view. We need more people on bikes. It avoids social distancing social distancing to its, you know, personified, isn't it? Really, you know, but just by the very nature of what we do on motorcycles, we are socially distanced. So yeah, it's everybody needs to kind of be doing what they think is right, bearing in mind what the government regulations are on social distancing, etc.
So again, I suppose if anybody wants some sort of one-to-one guidance or help with that, then please, you know, call the help desk and we'll guide you through that with some recommendations, and you can take that away and decide how it's best for you. Thank you, Mark.
Okay, let's move on to delivery of post-test training, ERS, Diamond, Advanced, etc. Generally speaking, here on the screen are the rules on meeting up. IAM Road Smart are restarting from Monday. ROSPA, I think, haven't announced a date yet, but they won't be far behind if they haven't already. Personally, I don't see any reason why ERS, Diamond, IAM, ROSPA can't go ahead, keeping in the meetup rules. Again, we are social distancing, you know, and these rules will change. These rules are changing, I think, again from Monday. These are the current rules up on the screen. It's really for people to do that. So, you know, those people, we have had a number of inquiries for people that want to get back on bikes to avoid public transport, and offering back to biking courses. It shouldn't be too much of an issue in my opinion. And I think it's very sensible, as long as we just keep those rules around what we can and can't do to the back of our mind. You know, making sure we have social distancing, choosing a start and end point that is within the rules. So, you know, don't start your ride from England and end up in Wales, for example, because that crosses a border and changes the rules. Use your local knowledge to locate essential services. You know, if you're out all day, you do need to stop, and just sort of a little bit of pre-planning Maybe even think about doing your briefing and debriefing by remote tools like Zoom. Those little things that just help us to not only show that we are happy to do training, but we're also showing the public that we are taking it seriously as well, because we are professionals in what we do, and if we can just show the public that is how we approach ourselves and we do it, then it works well. So really, some advice like that is again not exactly rocket science. It's common sense. And as somebody, as Roderick just has commented on the questions, yeah, Scotland is different. That's why I showed the differences here on the screen. So just depending on where in the country you are, IAM Road Smart have not recommenced in Scotland and Wales as far as I know, but that'll have to wait for the local governments to decide what they're going to do. And again, yeah, I think this is all just sensible stuff. There's nothing rocket science involved in this. This is sensible, professional stuff that I think people can take on board.
A question here, but maybe that's been brought up on the help desk. Some instructors have noticed behavioural changes out there on the road, and public attitudes have changed on the road. What would you recommend there in terms of risk and managing that?
Right, again, yeah, I mean, certainly in the earlier days of lockdown, not so much now because the traffic has started to build up again, but you know, the average speed of motorists was higher because there was less traffic on the road. People have not been in and around vehicles and bikes for potentially 12 weeks. Skill fade is a problem, and I think the fact that we're able to offer post-test training as well as CB training at the moment is only a good thing, because you know it does help everybody, and skill fade is a problem. We know that there is always an issue at spring and summer when we come out of winter with skill fade on bikes, and I think this is just something that we can help to do that. Certainly the feedback I've had with people wanting to return or do post-test training has all been around enhancing their skill fade.
So one opportunity there for people to step in and grow their business on that basis as well, with some help. Absolutely,
and you know, using ERS and Diamond as methodologies to promote their business and do additional training on top of what we're able to do at a CBT level is really good, and as you quite rightly say, Karen, a business opportunity that we shouldn't turn down. You know, especially as I said earlier on, for some strange reason, bikes over 1,000 cc seem to have shot up, as well as the lower capacity ones. There is an opportunity there for back to biking to go on, and ERS to go on and train those potentially new riders on that. So yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'll let you crack on with that, with the slides.
Yeah. Okay. No problem at all. Before I just go on to delivery of full testing, let me talk, Chris, you just put on a question about masks are not necessary. Face coverings are advised. Absolutely, totally right. From Monday, they are compulsory on public transport, and you know that is something that is going to potentially change to everywhere, but not at the moment. So yeah, face coverings are advisable. Absolutely.
I think right. Can I just briefly interject there with masks? I think we get lots and lots of questions about masks, all sorts of things. But I think one thing that for me as a trainer, I think is really important is that you remain client-centered on this, and that you liaise with who you're training. They want you to wear a mask. Are you both agreeing to both wear it when you're talking to each other? You know, it's having it in your terms of business and defining it, and communication. I think all those things are really important, but at the moment it's not compulsory, so it's about good communication and clarity, I think.
Okay, right. Okay, so update on delivery of full test training. So as part of my work with the DIA, myself, a couple of other trainers and the main people at the DVSA have been discussing this on our weekly call for the last 4 or 5 weeks. Although I can't give you a specific date that it's going to restart, I can tell you that there is a plan for it all. The plan has been formulated with this stakeholders working group, which has represented trainers and the industry. In our latest session with the DVSA, we have looked at the plan. The plan has taken into account pretty much everybody's concerns about how it's going to be unlocked in the fairest way that is possible. As part of the stakeholders group, we have asked probably about 15 or 20 ATBs what their thoughts are on how it can be phased in properly, and therefore the plan has been developed around that particular particular thing. Up on the screen are some of the things that are likely to happen in terms of a phased introduction. It will be phased. I just can't tell you any dates, I'm afraid. And that is basically because the DVSA need to work within the greater governmental advice and guidance as it changes out. What I can tell everybody is that the DVSA have been working extremely hard in the background. They are constrained by what they can say, because everything needs to fall in line with governmental advice. It's frustrating for everybody within the industry. I feel it as much as everybody else, and the helpline is constantly being asked about when it's going to come up and open, but it will be a phased reintroduction. The DVSA are very keen for it to start before cars for all the social distancing reasons that they want. We are hoping for a better announcement over the next short period of time. I need to be a little bit careful on what I say because I've been bound by confidentiality, mainly so that you know, the information gets released when the government is ready to release the information. But I can tell you that they have been working hard with this. They've been very much aware of the industry's feelings, and the DVSA are regularly told about the industry feelings about it, but they are, and as with all government departments, it isn't just the DVSA. It's every civil servant isn't allowed to do anything at the moment without the government saying it. So, you know, just looking at some of the questions that have come in, there are. I can't give you a specific date, but what I can tell you is that there is a plan in place. The plan looks as fair as it can possibly be to make sure that everybody gets a fair crack at the whip, and you know, we will do that. what they are talking about is things like not allowing mod 1 and mod 2s on the same day. If somebody fails the mod 1, that's effectively a wasted mod 2 slot, and they will be looking at it. They will be looking at the trainer bookings to see if anybody's doing stuff that they shouldn't really be doing. And I think from an industry point of view, I think that's a fair thing, so that we don't waste any of the tests. One of the other plans is that they will attempt not to, or they will not sell unsold motorcycle tests and convert them to car tests. Once they're allocated as a motorcycle test, they will remain a motorcycle test. So I can't tell any more other than that they are working in the background. They are doing stuff. There is a plan. The plan has to be approved by government, and once it's approved by government, they will let us know what the plan is.
So, Mark, in your role working with us at the DIA and Diamond, perhaps, you know, can I ask you, how often are you liaising with the DVSA and getting those kind of feedbacks for?
Yes. Every week we have a Microsoft Teams call, and that involves not just me from the DIA. It involves the MCIA, involves DVSA representatives, and a couple of other ATB trainers as well. So we've got a good spectrum of input into the way that we want, the way that we feel that the industry needs to go in order to be able to reopen this. This has never happened before. You know, this switch down has just not happened. There is no what's the word?
Well, it's all new, isn't it? And it's
all new. It's all new.
Trying to sort of find a way through this as much as everybody else. So I suspect, like all of us, we don't always get it right. It's a difficult times, but I presume from what you're saying, they're feeding back to you as effectively as they can, with in mind that they've got to ask certain tiers before they can make decisions.
So yeah, Robin, you just put in a question of how quickly will any form be made. We don't know the exact date that it will be released. However, we will get a short amount of notice to do it, and once they've made the decision to open up, again, testing will start pretty quickly. Once the decision has been made. But yeah, as you quite rightly alluded to there, Karen, it's the government that's making the timescales, and the DVSA's plans have got to fit into that timescale. Theory tests have now been knocked back again. Again, there's no. This is, to some degree, a problem with the amount of time that decisions can be made and escalated to people. Yeah, as one, as you're all probably aware, almost every sector in the country is badgering the government for them to do something different, and we're not different to that, I guess. All I can say is that once it's turned on, it will be turned on relatively quickly, and that's all I know. I don't know the date yet. Even in our confidential stakeholders meeting, we weren't told of any dates, but we were told how they're going to reintroduce it, and that all makes a lot of sense to the ATBs that are involved in that group.
Yes, it's frustrating times for everyone, and it can be difficult knowing how to manage your business as well as tests and theory tests coming up. It's been the same for the ADI side, very much so. There's been a lot of frustration out there, but I can assure you that we're doing our best to get that correct information out to you when we can, and as soon as we know, perhaps more importantly. So yeah. Thank you, Mark. I'll let you carry on there.
Okay, so that was kind of really what I've got, other than to talk about some of the questions that are coming in. Yeah, I'm hoping that some of those questions have been answered as part of it. Nigel, you've just asked about theory certificates being extended. There has been talk about that, and I didn't actually ask that update this morning. So let me take that away, Nigel, and I will ask the question. There was discussions about extending it, but I will come back to you on that, Nigel, in terms of, or everybody, in terms of whether the plan is to extend theory tests. I know there was definitely going to be there's definitely discussions happened on that one.
So again, just to remind everyone, if you pop your question in the question box rather than on the chats, we will come back to you on those questions. And if we can't answer anything today, we will come back to you as best we can via those Q&As that are coming through on the questions.
Yeah, and Andy Smith, yeah, just seeing your comment on that theory test, you're absolutely right, it would require a change for legislation for that to happen, which is why I think the discussions are still ongoing as to whether or not they can actually do that. So let me just have a quick look at some other the questions that are coming in.
I've got a question for you, just going back to perhaps the one that's come up here with risk. You know, what off-road risks do I face as a trainer?
I'm not sure context on that.
Do I face any risks? Is there anything I need to be concerned about as a trainer being out there? Is there anything I need to
off-road you're talking about on the pad?
Yes.
Just nothing more than our normal training risks. You know, as long as we keep the social distancing there and we do everything we can. You know, everybody manages their own business in whatever way they do. And, you know, we're slightly different on the motorcycle side because we have a different level of risk and responsibility being on bikes that you do with cars. And I think pretty much all trainers are all aware of that. And so that does that. Just one in there from Kelly. So how are independent schools getting a fair voice? We listen within the motorcycle group that is talking to the DVSA. We listen to all your concerns that you're putting on, and we are pushing those within the DVSA. You know, we are trying to do everything that we can to be able to push it. They are fully aware of everybody's. And I know Kelly, you spent quite a bit of time with Karen, and that's all good. And we are pushing every time we meet. The DVSA are fully aware of large and small and medium-sized ATBs concerns about everything.
I think it's easy as well for us to, I mean, sometimes, you know, you've got a larger school there, Mark, and one of the concerns for some people out there is they're very much on their own. They're perhaps working on their own as well, which is, again, very much an ADI thing. But you know, there are trainers out there that operate on their own. And I think it's important to say that they're not forgotten. They are very much taken into consideration. And again, when we have people calling us on the help desk and we've got people that work alone, that feedback and that stuff that's coming through is really important for us to take on board, because we can take that back to the DVSA. So please have a voice, even if you're out there on your own or you're a small school, whatever you are, give us a call. Let us know how you're feeling. Let us know what we can do differently, and we'll have a look at that for you.
Yeah, okay. So a couple of other questions that are coming in. Somebody says, yeah, how much notice are we going to get? We aren't going to get a massive amount of notice when testing restarts. It will be enough for you to be able to get your students in. I think that whatever notice we get, we will need to work to within the industry. If you've got people that aren't quite ready for the first tranche, as quickly as you can get the tests, then maybe you've already got semi-trained or partially trained people to do that. I know that most ATBs have already got a waiting list of considerable size for people, so it shouldn't be too much of an issue's what we're doing. We're just going to have to get on and do it when it reappears. And that's down to each ATB to manage their own students and get them up and running. It's certainly, in my thought process, it's going to be weeks rather than months worth of notice to be up and running. But again, I'm really sorry, I can't tell you a date. I don't know the date yet. That's got to come from central government.
Okay. Kelly was just come back to me on a chat, just asking, what are these other groups? You just following on from my comments there. What are these other groups? I'm a little bit confused by that question. Other groups, we deal with lots of different types of groups, lots of different organisations. If you want to have a chat, Kelly, why don't you give me a call after this, and we'll have a talk about some things and clarify those questions that you've got. All right. Back to you. Sorry.
Any other ones that you see coming up that we can't, or that we need sort of common things?
I'll just have a quick look and see if there's anything coming back from people. I'll let you carry on with the slides, Mark. And
yeah, no, I'm done with the slides. It's more about questions now, really. I didn't want to blast people with a PowerPoint. Death by PowerPoint isn't work.
We've got a couple.
So what somebody asked about getting on the scheme for the MCIA stuff. I will respond to you separately to that. I can't actually find the question now.
The question perhaps some people have been asking is,
there you go, Philip, reference Unlock Your Freedom. I will send you the details and all the information for that. Sorry, Karen.
When you have your meetings with the DVSA, who's on the panel there? Who do you kind of liaise with in terms of groups?
So it comprises of obviously myself from the DIA, and obviously I have an input with my knowledge of my own ATB. There are another couple of ATB owners on it as well. Representatives and DVSA representatives from the MCIA, and it is fair that certainly from a DIA and membership point of view that we are giving the DVSA some very good feedback and telling them every single week exactly how the industry is feeling. So they are totally aware of it. They are bound by government in terms of communication, which is why there hasn't been any communication since Gareth Llewellyn's email back in April. They are as frustrated as we are as an industry because they know that it's not right, but we are doing that. So yeah, we are listening. We do listen to the rest of the industry. The calls that come into the help desk get forwarded over for questions as well, and we know everybody needs answers. We're in the same space as well. They do know where we sit in this.
The DVSA getting that information for a variety of sources, whether it's smaller businesses as well as the DIA and other organisations that we've mentioned earlier. So it is a variety of people that are feeding back to the DVSA on the concerns in the industry.
Correct. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So Andy's just coming with with something about extending CBT. So this was discussed. It was decided that they wouldn't extend the CBTs for a number of reasons. It would prohibit people coming into motorcycling that hadn't previously got a CBT, but it would also encourage the training industry to be able to deliver CBTs for new riders as well. So it was discussed in the early days, but it didn't go any further. Again, that would require a legislative change to do that. Whereas the MOTs did have a legislative change to do that.
Okay.
So Chris has come in. I think all independent post-test trainer people, is this an official go? Resuming business is legitimate. You need to follow the government advice and decide on yourself. From Monday, non-essential travel is acceptable by the nature of non-essential retail opening. We're not looking at doing any of the stuff like, we're not talking about big scale ride out. So if you're doing 1 or 2 people, that maintains the social distancing from households, etc. I personally think that it looks all good for that point of view, because it's following government guidelines, and that's what we're doing. We can't be criticised for following government guidelines.
No, I think as well today's webinar, this has been very much hopefully motorcycle specific, and of course all of your questions and comments will be put together, and we will of course feed those back as well, because that's what this is about. It's important to get the feeling out there and what people want us to feed back to. So if we haven't covered anything today, please let us know. We will look at all those questions that come up today, and Mark and I think we'll have a feedback on to the DVSA on some of those things. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And I apologise. Yet again, I apologise. I'm not able to break my confidences with the DVSA, but the points that you all are raising are only the points that I'm feeling within my own ATB. So nothing differs in terms of big ATBs, little ATBs. We're all suffering the same issues, and certainly the other ATB representatives on the working group voice it exactly the same way as that we do, and it's something that's frustrating because it's government. The government advice is holding it back rather than what we want to do as an industry, and we're not alone in this in terms of driver and rider training stuff. Because every industry, the hospitality industry, the entertainment industry, they're all lobbying government for their own reasons, and I understand that. So it is difficult, but people have got to make their own business decisions. You've got to make the decision within your own business to make sure that we do what we want to do, because at the end of the day, we all are passionate about motorcycling. I think every instructor, every ATB owner in the country is as passionate about motorcycling, because we wouldn't be doing this job if we weren't. And I think the opportunity has been seen by the motorcycle industry, and the sales of motorcycle, both new and second hand, over the last 2 months has shown that we've got a lot to offer in terms of social distancing, on a level of that, avoiding public transport, etc. But we are talking to the DVSA with everybody's concerns. And that's only a good way forward. It's just that they're constrained very much by the DVS, by the government in terms of what they can actually do, and the government message has to be on message every time. It might not look like it, but at least they're attempting to try and make that message consistent across the board, if that's right.
Okay, but Mark, we've not got any more questions coming through now. So if we'll just start to wrap it up, and then if anybody's got any final questions, just post them quickly. Otherwise, you're more than welcome to give me a call after this webinar. It will be recorded, so it will be available out there as a recorded webinar. If you've got any queries at all, you can give me a call on 0208 686 8010. I'm happy to take your calls after this webinar, as I say, but the recording will be out there. So any final questions have not come through, Mark. So I will say at this point, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
For being
okay.
here.
I hope it's been useful, because I'm as passionate about motorcycle training as anybody is, and we just want to. This is totally unprecedented times. We've seen stuff that we've never seen or never even dreamt of before, and I think that we do have a massive opportunity in motorcycling to get people off of public transport and aid congestion and all of that malarkey. And all I can say is thank you to everybody that's in the industry that's doing what they're currently doing, to be able to facilitate that. Karen, can you just give out the phone number of the help desk?
Yes, that is that mainline number. If you call the 0208 686 8010 and press the option for the help desk. As I say, as I mentioned earlier, we are speaking to non-members at the moment. It is normally a membership benefit, but we will kind of give you a little bit of guidance just to start with, and of course we'd love you to join, but we will help you where we can, because of course during these times we do appreciate it's very difficult and we want to help all of you out there. So please feel free to pick up the phone and speak to me. Okay, thank you. Thank you to everyone, and thank you, Mark.
Okay, all right then. Talk to you in a bit. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.